Alrighty, and welcome to another episode.
Oh, to me. Usually you say, I'm Mark, and I say, and I'm Mike. And then we talk about what's new. But you know what? We'll roll right into what's new.
Okay.
And what's new, I guess, is the name. We talked about it last time we were on the podcast, and this one's kind of a natural, and Beers Over the Fence. I think it sounded really good last time when we got a little off the rails. I've been told by some of the people that listen to that show that...
All the Michiganites?
Oh, the Michiganites, yeah. I think there were at least 7 people that listened to it.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Even after the next day when we woke up and you handed another beer over the fence,
right,
it still made sense. So
it did.
Here we are today talking about it, and I see it on the paper, and
yeah,
I think it still sounds great.
It's gonna slowly transition to Beers Over the Fence. Unfortunately, Tom is not any longer part of this podcast, so MT just doesn't make any sense anymore.
I don't get it.
I did.
Oh,
at the time, but now I don't get it. It's Mark and Mike.
Yeah.
We're not doing the M&M show, so we're kind of done with that.
I agree.
Okay.
Beers Over the Fence.
Yes.
Perfect.
So what has been a beer over the fence lately?
Geez. Let me see.
I can name several because
you're the one usually handing them.
Yeah.
He won't take my PBR back over the fence.
Let me. One that you handed back over the fence was a black IPA.
Yes, that was the Two Hearted Black IPA.
Okay.
How'd you like it?
I did not try it.
Oh, wow. See, and this is where we're different, is you hand the beer over the fence, and I crack it, and I drink it.
Well, okay. So some of the listeners that have been with us from the beginning know that a long time ago, Tom brewed a black IPA. It exploded in his closet. It got contaminated, and we didn't really know that until we went camping that weekend, and it didn't go well.
Sounds like a shit show.
Yeah, literally. So anyway, yes. Anyway, so we're transitioning to the name, and I picture a lot of good beers over the fence to come.
And you know, the one that does come to mind that did come my way was the Trapdoor Crooner.
Hazy Crooner. Yeah,
dude, that was a really good beer to me. I was sitting in the hot tub the other night and really enjoyed that one. So thanks for sending it over the fence, and I'm glad I didn't drink it while I was standing there talking to you.
Right. Trapdoor makes a good hazy. I really do like a lot of their beers. So, awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. Anyway, let's get to who we have here today.
Hey, it's going to be an exciting show.
Yes, it is.
The guys here from Bert's Brewing. Let's get it moving.
All right. Go ahead and introduce yourself. I don't know if people call you Bert, Rob, Robert, all of them.
A little bit of all.
Okay.
Typically I go by Rob, but I've been hearing a lot of Bert recently, whether I like it or not.
Well, why do you think that is?
That's a good question. I haven't figured that one out yet. If I could get to the bottom of it, though, it'd be helpful.
Yeah.
It's not on the side of the building or anything.
Or on your shirt.
Or on our shirts or the cans. Or,
right.
Oh, God. No, I typically go by Rob. My wife and I are the owners of Bert's Brewing. So my wife, Sydney, who couldn't be with us here today, she is the better half of the company. I think David could attest to that.
100%.
And David is the other better half. I actually get to just kind of hang around and see some really awesome people do great things. But David is my former head brewer and now my current head brewer.
That's right.
So it's confusing, but we used to work together. He was my boss for
9 months.
Yeah, about 9 months.
I hired Rob right out of brewing school. Rob did the Siebel program and then went over to Germany, did schooling there. The week he got back, I needed to hire someone as a shift brewer at our former brewery, Chapman Crafted, which is in Southern California. someone had told me, "Oh, do you remember Rob? Rob started out as a delivery driver, great guy, everybody liked him." And I called you, and I'm pretty sure you were in Palm Springs
I
on
was in a
vacation.
Oh, nice.
Trying to enjoy myself.
Right.
Probably inebriated, who knows? But I said, "Hey, do you want a job?" "Yeah, that sounds good."
We worked out the pay and everything else later. That was a hard
Those are
sell
the
on
best
myself.
jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that pay scale again?
So yeah, Rob came to work at Chapman, did a phenomenal job, and then it was like that summer. So like months later, we're sitting down at another friend's brewery that had just opened, and he said, "I'm moving to Idaho and I'm going to open a brewery. I think you should be my head brewer." And I said, "That sounds amazing. You should convince my wife first." And it took about 2 years,
Okay.
and then she finally was convinced.
Wow.
Wow.
But it worked.
Yeah.
And we're all here now. I think happily, hopefully happily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we are, just want to say, absolutely blessed to have the people that we have. We've brought in a lot of friends, and so we get to work with our friends every day. The people that we've hired in have quickly become friends, and so it's been really a fortunate, even though it's been a relatively short amount of time being open, but very fortunate road so far. And so there's nothing better in the world than being surrounded by really good people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we are, my wife and I think our whole staff are honored to be, is surrounded by good people every single day.
Very good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So us Idahoans appreciate you guys coming up.
Wait.
And
We're 3-1. I'm a transplant as well.
he's Michigan. No, he doesn't count. We don't count them at all.
Blue Michigan
Wow.
or green Michigan?
I grew up in Lansing, so I had to kind of breathe green for a while, but it sure was nice to see the blue do well this year too. But so I'm not a bandwagon guy either way. So neither of my kids would go to those schools. They went to the tech schools in Michigan.
But whoever's winning is my favorite.
See, I like the way you think.
Okay. So, Rob, what are we drinking today?
Well, I think we're going to drink a little bit of a lot. So we're starting.
Before we start talking about what we're drinking, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's not uncommon, but before we do, I want to know just a little bit more because we won't remember to get back and talk about your store and or your brewery. You've got an amazing facility over there.
Hey, we're gonna get there.
I know, but
The fuck?
we'll forget about it, and then if we don't, come on, let's
You
let
will
him
forget
talk.
about- anyway.
I'll forget about it. Let's talk
You will
about
for-
his
All right.
venue for just a minute.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me get to that page.
Yeah. Please, oh Pete.
All right, go ahead.
I didn't proof this. Can
No,
you
you
tell?
didn't.
But tell us a little bit about your venue, where it's at, what your hours are, and then we'll talk about beer.
All right.
Okay.
So we are located in Garden City, by where about 2 blocks west of where it used to be where Western Collective is currently. So about a block and a half off of Chinden as you're going down Orchard. We opened roughly 6.5 months ago, but it's been a project that we've been working on. I've been dreaming about since I was 17. Been actually working on the building since April of 22. So we got the building then and had a whole ton of ups and downs getting to the point where we actually did get to open. We're open 6 days a week, so Tuesday through Sunday. Tuesday to Thursday, we're open 2 to 9. Friday, Saturday, open noon to 10. And then Sunday, open noon to 9. And if you were around at any point during our first 3 weeks of being open, I was given the opportunity to be the tasting room lead for my first time, relieving my wife, who had been just working way too hard. And so it was me and one of our employees and good friends, Pablo. And so on that night, we almost closed at 8 o'clock because I didn't know our own hours. I was questioned by him. He actually took me into the cold box and said, "What the hell are you doing last call?" I said, we're done, aren't we?
I'm ready to go home.
It's like, we've got another hour. So the hours are, trust them to what you want to. I think that those are right.
Great. So, I do believe just recently you had your grand opening.
Last Saturday, yeah.
So you opened back in November
Yep.
of last year, and then the grand opening. What's today? So like the 20.
So it was the 18th,
18th.
of May. Yeah.
18th of May. So
Yep.
why so long in between the two?
Well, when we opened, we weren't really fully done with construction. The patio wasn't done. Obviously, living in Idaho, you know that November is not necessarily a predictable weather month. So really wanting to make sure that we could do the event in the best way that we know how to do, and having enough time to have staff trained and be comfortable, and honestly for ourselves to be comfortable as well, decided to push it. And so we got the patio finished out literally that Friday, the finishing pieces. It was really my wife. We decided on the date together, but I don't know if I did a single thing for the grand opening. In all honesty, she was heading that full steam, and so that's been the last 2 months for her. I think maybe David can speak to it, but I thought it went off really without a hitch. It was a phenomenal event. David made some fantastic variant beers off of some of our current selections, but incredibly, I mentioned it multiple times that day. There's two words that kept kind of going through my head, and it was humbled and loved. And that is still kind of carrying over, and you're getting those after effects still. And it's, man, to be around people who want to support us. We had family fly out, friends fly out, but the local community as well. I mean, it is just seriously humbling to be surrounded by that many people choosing to come support us. Obviously, the customer is the only reason why we actually get to do what we do. And so we owe everything to the customer, and we are extremely grateful for everyone who's come through our doors or tried our beers at any point. Yeah, it was a really fun event.
So if I remember correctly, which you probably won't, but you and I went golfing. I think we went golfing at Quail. We got done and we said, hey, let's go check out Bert's. And I don't remember what month that was, but I remember we walked in, came in, had a beer. I swear the doors were open. So it must have been a very nice November afternoon.
I think it was. Yeah, in November.
Because you never know what you're going to get here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I had the West Coast. What'd you have, Mike?
I don't remember, Mark.
Fuck.
God, you knew that
See?
was going to come. What? Oh, just move on.
I can remember. Because I'm good like that.
Yeah.
I remember my beers.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. I'm trying to think what I had for lunch.
I have more. I have a ton more questions on this whole opening and stuff like that.
Sure.
But let's go back and tell everybody what we're drinking right now.
Yeah, so
Oh, actually,
so two of us are drinking
Right.
the Mexican lager,
Yes,
and that's the two who are putting on the production.
a little bit slower.
The two of us who are lucky enough to be invited here have already graduated over to the Pilsner. We forgot to hold our water, and so we decided let's just keep going. But
Great.
I think David can speak to both and all of these beers really well.
Yeah,
I mean, these are
for
his
sure.
recipes, and let you take it away.
Yeah, so Vaquero is our Mexican lager. That's the first beer you should try when you come into Bert's. It's the cleanest, simplest, most neutral tasting beer on the menu. So that should hopefully showcase for you like just how good a job we do with clean fermentation. Our water is very clean, and so I look for that when I go into breweries. I'll find the lightest thing that they have, and that tells me what to expect from everything else on the menu. So definitely have that first. But it's a base of Briess Pilsen, which is like the lightest Pilsner malt I can find. It's very clean tasting. It's got a little bit of like a doughy bread character that comes through. There's also some flaked maize or corn. It's about 8% corn in that beer.
Okay. So that's where you're bringing your Mexican style into it then, right?
Mm-hmm. And corn, I like corn because it dries a beer out. It's very fermentable, but it still brings like a sweetness to it.
Okay.
So the beer drinks sweet because it's not overly bitter. There's really not a lot of hops in it, just a little bit for bittering.
Yeah.
But you still get a little bit of that sweet corn that comes through without the beer sort of clinging to your palate and leaving you feeling like you had this like fat, full beer.
Yeah. They give me a hard time because every now and then I will drink all day, and this would be one that I could start in the morning and drink all day. So,
Yeah, it's only 4.5.
It's pretty good in the morning.
Yeah.
So what is vaquero?
So that is Spanish for cowboy.
Oh, okay.
And so
Pretty simple. Cowboy.
the
on
original
lid.
idea with the names was going to be really everything super hard to pronounce. I quickly got outvoted, which is probably for the best.
What was your original name for pills?
You're asking me that because you know that I can't actually pronounce it.
I can.
But I believe it's colloquy. Colloquy?
Yeah, colloquy.
Okay.
See, this is, I say it twice every time I say it.
Right.
It's something to do with conversation. I don't know.
You were really about it, though. I remember you telling me.
I'm
like,
still really
named
about
the
it. I
beer.
just got outvoted. But, yeah, I mean, so Vaquero was really the only one that I got to keep. The rest of it was, for lack of better terms, crowd-funded names.
Okay.
So, I passed our sensory division, which is my wonderful wife.
You're a smart man.
Well, if I'm going to be on air, I should be on air saying nice things.
yeah.
Hi,
So-
Sydney.
So the other two beers that you guys have moved on to, which one is that one?
This is our pills. We call it pills. It's kind of got a cool lineage to it. I learned how to brew this style of pills at Chapman Crafted, where I worked from 2018 until the beginning of this year. But this pills is, I struggle to describe like exactly what style of pills it is. I've entered it into competitions for years, and it's not bitter enough for German pills. There isn't enough body in it for other styles of pills because it's so crisp. So it's just, to me, this is the kind of pills that I like. Everything about it drinks the way that I want it to. But the malt we choose for it is Weyermann Extra Pale Pilsner malt. It's a slightly lower protein content malt than their typical pills, and it's slightly lighter in color too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just super clean, and then there's a little bit of dextrose in the beer as well to help it dry out a little bit, keep it finishing light, crisp on the palate. And then the hop I lean on for this beer is Saphir, which is one of my favorite hops.
It's what?
Saphir. It's a German hop.
I think you had mentioned getting that inspiration from Pivo, right?
Yeah, from Firestone's Pivo Pills.
Okay.
That was the first beer I remember having that used Saphir. It just means sapphire, but it's got classic noble hop character, and then this really interesting tangerine note that comes in at the end makes it a little bit unique. And it's good in pale ales, it's good in IPAs, but it does a phenomenal job for this pilsner.
All right, so I've been listening very closely, and I haven't taken a taste yet,
Okay.
and I'm gonna see if I can taste everything that he just said.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
All right.
What do you think, Mike? What do your professional taste buds tell
I'm
you?
probably gonna have to drink more in order to really tell.
Yeah. Good answer.
I get it all in at the end there, the finish that you're describing. What you said, nectarine, correct? Or
Yeah, to me it's like tangerine, but yeah, kind of a citrusy, almost like coriander.
Yeah.
Like coriander can be citrusy
Yeah, and
and spicy.
that's not a finish that you're really always looking for from a pilsner, and it's pleasant. I really like it.
Right on.
Thanks for sharing.
I think when wife and I went out to lunch yesterday, we ordered, we went and got tacos and ordered a Pilsner that was on draft, and it was fantastic. It's light, it's clean, it's crisp, and the end was slightly bitter, and it was a lingering bitterness. And I think what I can really appreciate out of David's recipe and his kind of handling with the hops in this beer is that when you drink it, it doesn't follow you. It just goes away.
Yeah.
It kind of dissolves up from your tongue, so it doesn't sit heavy.
Yeah.
And to me, it's something that, that characteristic just makes you want to have another sip. It doesn't feel full. It doesn't feel like it's going to weigh heavy on you. It's kind of like it was never there, in the most positive sense of that. And so
Yeah, I agree.
I think the way we treat the water helps with this beer quite a bit. We use reverse osmosis water filtration at Bert's, so we basically can strip all of the minerality out of our municipal water, and then using various brewing salts, we can tweak the water profile for whatever the beers we want to make. And
Well,
so,
shit, now you're getting ahead of script too.
dang.
Well,
Damn
we'll
it.
wait on to talk more on it.
Yeah, we can talk about it later.
No, this is great. We're already talking about it. Let's keep talking about it.
The more that I can irritate him, if you can help me,
Wow.
my day gets a little better. So thank you.
So that is one thing that I heard that you guys do that I don't think anybody else in this valley does, is treat the water per the style that you're brewing,
Yeah.
which is unique.
We can be endlessly flexible with the water profile we want for any given beer.
So to do that, does it add cost to the process or
It adds an initial investment, and it adds a certain amount of foresight. Not every system is going to be able to take that on. One thing that we knew that we wanted at the very start was this flexibility, and water being such a key cog into fantastic beer, and really why
Yeah.
beer is beer in every region. I think it gets a little undersold in at a lot of places. I think we just take it for granted, and we don't at Bert's. And it's such a big thing for us to pay attention to and to focus on. And so we built our entire brewery around water. There's no proprietary anything to that. From my perspective, we did that at Chapman. And that is what differentiated us in an extremely saturated market. There was more players doing that at the time. But it's something that actually, a little bit of market insight, you're going to see more of that coming into this market too. I know of at least one and hopefully another brewery that will be opening up maybe a second location or maybe changing some processes. And that's going to be taking on this water profile and water treatment system, which I think is just going to be such a positive thing for the consumers here in Boise who are excited for local beer. There's fantastic beer being made here. What we're going to see is some more and really, really high quality lagers being made. Which is, I think, where the market wants to head. And I think regardless of what the market wants, where we want to head.
right.
Because
So
light's nice.
I have heard some rumblings. I know that Portland area, it's starting to turn more towards pilsners and lagers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's slowly coming this way.
It's going to be it's going to be a wave.
Right.
Realistically,
Kinda like the hazy was,
it kind of was this slow turn in Southern California and Washington and Oregon. When it comes here, it's going to come with full force, I think. And I think everyone's gearing up for it. And I think that's going to be a really fun thing because it doesn't mean that hazies and IPAs go away. It just means that we have a new focus as well. And so we're not saying, hey, all those batches of hazy IPA are now turning into Pilsner. It's, hey, maybe a couple are. But for the consumer, when you talk about light beer, and we were talking maybe a little bit earlier about this before we started on air, is what do you like to drink? Personally, I still love drinking Coors Light. I still love drinking Rainier or Vitamin R. That's really, really approachable. And for a huge amount of the community who drinks beer, and we're not talking craft beer, we're just talking beer drinkers, all they drink is light beer. So by turning our focuses into lager and into lighter styles and a craft segment, we're now opening up the doors for a lot of people to actually get involved and get interested in craft beer and get interested into providing, opportunity and finances to local breweries, which just allows our industry to keep evolving and growing in the most positive ways. And so there's a huge untapped market. There's a lot of people that have parents, grandparents, or brothers, sisters, cousins who strictly drink large domestic.
Yep.
Now, the more that craft gets into Pilsner, the more that craft gets into lager, the more that those people in our lives are going to say, yeah, let me have one. For instance, my dad, he's a Coors Light drinker only. Occasionally an Asahi Super Dry drinker, which will work on our clone. But he'll drink our Pilsner happily.
Okay.
And he's super biased, so take that with a grain of salt.
But these beers they're different.
Yeah.
I think they're better than what they were back then.
I'll tell you what, I could drink that a lot.
You drink everything a lot, so that's not saying much. But yes, this is a fantastic beer. The Pilsner, it is good.
It's fun.
I mean,
I like it.
I'm not usually a Pils guy, so I mean, the last Pilsner that I liked was the Trapdoor Day Beer. It's a West Coast Pilsner, so you get that hoppy.
And that's what's next is our dry hop lager.
Okay.
And I think David, maybe that's a good segue for David to speak to the difference on that.
Sure.
There you go.
And absolutely. Yeah, if you like more hop presence in a lager, you still want something that drinks crisp, dry finishing, clean on the palate, but you need that aroma on your nose, then that's our dry hop lager.
So I've noticed that the two that we have drank so far, super clear. Is this due to water or just the way you brew it?
Water plays a role for sure. We use a really awesome product called Biofine. It basically binds to protein polyphenol complex, which is compounds that make beer hazy. And it binds to it, it makes a much bigger, heavier particle, and then those things fall out. And then you leave them behind to get rid of them.
Very good.
So, yeah, if you do it right, it produces a really brilliantly clear beer without the need for like mechanical filtration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a organic product.
Yep.
And so it's not putting something in. It's not a.
Right.
I mean, it's a reaction. It is, but it's an organic reaction. It's not
a chemical.
artificial chemical reaction where
Yeah, thank you for adding that, Rob. That is important for people to know.
Yeah, because I mean, when you use those big words, I'm like trying to figure out which language you're speaking. And,
what lab was this made in?
and yeah, so that clarification helps in understanding that you're not the mad chemist over there.
No, definitely not. I drink a lot of this too, so.
So, if anybody goes to your website, they can see the bio.
Yep.
And I did. I read the bio. I don't know if Mike did. But in this bio, it says that the story begins with Rob's deep-rooted passion for brewing, which took shape during his early days as a 17-year-old home brewer.
I wouldn't have drank a single thing I made back then. I wouldn't have wanted anyone else to do so either. So home brewer is probably being generous to what I was doing. I think I was making contamination in carboys in a garage.
It had alcohol, right?
Supposedly.
That's good.
But you wouldn't know because you were underage, so you couldn't try it.
Legally,
Right?
yes. Now, hypothetically, if I would have tried it, I would have said that it was always heavily oxidized. It was chunky, and it tasted like a Band-Aid. And so there's a reason why we have a fantastic brewer with us at this table.
Oh, dear. I can't. A Band-Aid. That's terrible. Rob, you went to several schools through your brewing history.
Since you were 17.
Right. And you got a little bit better at it, obviously. You went to Germany. I mean, tell us a little bit about the school and actual visiting Germany.
Extremely fortunate to have that opportunity. Got to go in as a 22-year-old kid and go to, I think, one of the better brewing schools in the country and compete with some really fantastic people in the classroom. And Chicago was the first school, so that was the Siebel Institute of Brewing and Technology. I spent 6 weeks there. We had basically 8 to 10 hours a day in a classroom, 2 tests a week, and if you got under 70%, you were out. And so it was very much a do-or-die kind of situation, which it was hard to die in, but it was a lot of fun, and it was kind of one of those rare opportunities where you actually got to live and breathe something that you're passionate about. That was really the only thing I did, is focus on beer. I wish I remembered half the stuff that I learned at that point, because maybe I'd be a better brewer.
A little too much focus.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not enough in Chicago. And then right as we were about to go to Germany, COVID hit.
Oh.
And so got sent home. And I went back to live with my parents in Seattle. Spent just about 6 months over there with them, which was great because I got a lot of time with family and got better relationships with my parents, so I wouldn't take a single thing back. But in October, I was able to go to Germany, and so specifically Munich. Talk about a great beer culture and a great brewery scene. It's that. And I think the thing that our place has taken influence from, as far as beer goes from Germany, is clean and simple. There is probably not a single thing on our menu that is built to wow you. We do not use the craziest hops. We do not use, tons of fruits. We don't do hazies. I mean, we are not your trendy brewery. For all the people that say, "Hey, we're not your dad or your grandpa's place," we're new. We're kind of the opposite. I think we're younger people, but we are very old school in how we look at the brewing process, and it's a process. It's not to be kind of tampered and meddled with. It's something to be respected. I think it's something to respect the ingredients that you use, the processes and the techniques, and it's to showcase skills. And David really is, I might have gone to school, but David has his Master Brewers certification as well through the Master Brewers Association of America.
No, actually,
MABA.
I don't have a Master Brewers certificate, so I have a diploma from the American Brewers Guild in Vermont. It's the program that I went to.
Regardless, David is the master brewer in our building. David is more knowledgeable, more well-versed, more naturally talented, really, than anyone I've ever been around. I'm happy to tell that to anybody. I was fortunate to get the diploma. I was fortunate to get an opportunity. But more so, I was fortunate to meet the wonderful people that we have even just at this table. David is the brains behind all of the beers here at Bert's. My wife is the brains behind the rest. And I am on the sign.
Did you lend a hand in any of the recipes?
Yes.
A couple. The ones that, if you go on Untapped, and you see the lower rated ones, I did play with those ones.
Wow.
David shakes his head.
Right.
He's wrong.
If anyone had our tremendous Hellas
Hellas
a
did
few
well.
months ago, that is all Rob. Our Hefeweizen that's on tap right now is all Rob. And then if anyone had the ESB and enjoyed the ESB, that was all Rob as well.
Okay, so what is your background, David?
So I left the insurance. I was an insurance adjuster for an auto insurance company.
Exciting.
That was my first big boy job out of college, and at that time I was learning how to homebrew as well. And so I got involved with through my local homebrew store in Fullerton, California, a place called Addison Homebrew Provisions. I have to give a shout out here to my friend Eric Addison, still a good close friend of mine.
We're in the brewery.
That's right. Oh yeah. Think about that. Yeah, that's
go.
his brewery in Texas. But Eric had a club that ran out of the shop, met once a month, and that was just the best education I could have gotten. A group of 30 or 40 people that would meet every month, and the most generous with their time, their knowledge. They would thoughtfully give you feedback on all of your beers. It was a really great environment for me to be in while I was earning enough money to move out of my parents' house and get married and all that stuff. So, and then I left the insurance industry in 2014. Eric was moving to Texas to start his brewery, wanted to keep the shop going, so that was my way station. I got to run that shop for him for about a year and a half, which was awesome experience. Getting customers walking in through the door, and they've got all these clone recipes, and here's my Pliny the Elder clone recipe. Do you have all 7 of these hops? And I have to say, I've got 4 of those right now, but here's some great substitutes for you. And having to get to know ingredients, because I'm always looking for, I can substitute this for this and that for that, and getting to taste tons and tons of beer from customers getting to know off flavors really well was awesome experience. And I think it prepared me really well for my first brewing job, which is called Bottle Logic, which is in Anaheim, California.
Who hasn't heard of that?
Well, that was the best on-the-job training I could have asked for. They do so many things. They make really clean, great lagers. They make, and then all the way on the other side of the spectrum, these big, huge bourbon barrel-aged stouts, and everything in between. So I got to put my homebrew knowledge and then put it into the practical sense in a commercial environment with some really phenomenal mentors. I'll shout out Dylan Mobley, Greg Suchland, and Wes Parker at Bottle Logic. Those three guys were tremendously helpful to me, learning enough, feeling comfortable from cellaring to brewing, barrel aging, a little bit of experience on a packaging line as well. We had an old Maheen bottling line, if anyone's told you about those. That's a whole other story. But
1 in every 5.
yeah, they were exciting. It was a really exciting time, especially the years. It was the end of 2015 when I started there, and then I left around the end of 2017, and those were the years when there was all this new excitement about that brewery. They were being discovered and known for these very special barrel-aged beers. So being around all that excitement was pretty cool. Every day was an absolute blast working at that place.
I bet.
Yeah. So from there, I left I thought I was making, planting my stake in the ground. I went to a brewery that doesn't exist anymore. Now it's owned and operated by different folks who are making fantastic beer. I'll shout out Radiant Brewing Company. Jonas Nomura and Andrew Bell, making phenomenal beers. So that story ended up being good in the end. And then I had a brief stint at a place called Left Coast, which is in San Clemente, California, before, and I had a horrible commute getting down there, but I needed a job. And then my buddy who worked at Chapman Crafted Beer, I was reaching out to him saying, I need something, what do you got? And his name is Robbie Hall. He and I actually went to middle school and high school together, but didn't really know each other that well until we started working at Bottle Logic together. But he was working at Chapman at the time, and he said, it's funny, I just put in my notice, I'm going to go take a job at, this little brewery you might have heard of called Elysian Brewing in Seattle.
Yeah.
And so he still lives in Washington now, but he recommended me for the job at Chapman Crafted.
Okay.
And so that's how I got over there. But during that time, sort of the last 6 months of my time at Bottle Logic, and then I think like February of 2018, right around when I started at Chapman, is when I finished up the American Brewers Guild program. I was a new dad at the time, so they offered a distance learning program for working brewers, where my supervisor was able to sponsor all of the hands-on training, stuff I was already doing on the job, and then proctored my exams as well. So that was just the best situation for me, and American Brewers Guild provided awesome instruction that I still use today.
Awesome.
Wow. I feel we're kind of among greatness after hearing that, Bob.
Rob is pretty great.
Wrong one.
So do you guys do stouts, porters?
I think we do a
Even
little bit of everything, to be honest.
Do you?
We don't do a lot of darker beers, although I think that's something that seasonally we'll be bringing in. David and I have talked about some potential ideas, including a split batch of a Doppelbock that we do one traditionally, and the other, third or half of it we put into barrels and kind of just see what happens.
Yeah.
But really everything that you're going to see from us is what you see from us now. Any new styles that we do, our biggest aim is to give credit to that style. I think we brew very traditionally. We don't brew for awards. We don't brew for praise or anything like that, but we just brew to have something be really clean and something that the customer is going to be very happy with. And that, we've had so many conversations, and I said awards, so I'm going to go on a small tangent, is there's a lot of places that want to brew for awards. You want to rack up medals on the wall. You want to do all these things, and that's fantastic, and that's great. At the end of the day, though, only metal that matters is a customer walking through the door, having a great experience, enjoying your beer, saying something positive, wanting to come back. You know, repeat customers are the hardest things to find. That's the most, humbling thing to find is regulars. You know, what an amazing thing that is to see. That's the metal. You know, that's a effing gold.
Yeah.
Is having a regular customer who comes back every week, every 2 weeks to have your beer.
And I'm sure
It's
you're
cool to have
already
the rest.
you're already seeing that, and when John walks in the door, you know him, and
I mean, so fantastic. There's
yeah,
some really great people that we've got to meet through this, and I think David can speak to that as well. But that's what we do it for. Partially do it selfishly, but that's what the medals are. That's selfish. that's worrying about, hey, what can we put by our brand? What we actually get to put with our brand is our customers. They get to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Our regulars get to be part of the fabric that we grow into. And so
it's funny how the,
really
the
fun
regulars
going.
will almost become your family.
And they are. I
Yeah.
mean, literally
Yeah.
saw one of our regulars today, Mark. Man, we were probably open for 6 weeks. We got a Christmas card from him. And I tell you, that means a heck of a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it really is one of those things where it's like, we're doing something fun right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is not hanging out making beers in a garage. We're getting to know people, and they're getting to know us. And that has been just so
Rewarding.
rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize that you're put here to actually serve
Yes.
and enjoy.
Yeah, the goal is not to be sitting on the top of a mountain yelling at people.
Yeah.
It's to be with people, to be loved by people, to love people. That's it.
Yeah.
And so we get this wonderful medium to do it. We get to make beer.
Dude, you
and
sell
that gets
beer.
it's a silly job. It's goofy.
Well, everybody loves beer, so
It's an easy thing to remind yourself if you're having, a rough day or a hard time or something, and then you just stop and remind yourself, I get to make beer for a living.
Yeah.
My life is great.
Yeah.
And that is a very common saying in good breweries, is people stopping after a machine doesn't want to work the way it should, and you're banging your head against a wall because things aren't going the way that you want them to. You go, hold on. We're making beer for a living. This is pretty silly.
yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, this is a goofy job.
Yeah.
Right.
So what temperature
Ice a little bit.
do you serve these beers at?
I don't know if there's really a perfect one that we have. Our cold box stays anywhere from 39 to 41 degrees.
Okay.
So we're not trying to go ice cold. Flavor's just going to get too subdued.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But
get
Well,
into a
that
little bit
Vaquero
higher.
wouldn't be bad ice cold.
No, that thing,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
could honestly do a chilled glass into that, and
Oh,
that'd
yeah.
be pretty pleasant.
That would
Yeah.
be the one to drink super cold.
that's kind of what I was thinking is,
Yeah.
pulling that out of a
Any
Cooler
warmer,
ice.
and that sweetness from the corn, I think, starts showing up more and more. I'd probably go with you. I mean, the colder that beer is, the better.
Yeah.
We serve that into a 13-ounce glass. So there's certain beers that we serve into smaller glasses for that purpose. That you're supposed to drink a little bit faster. It's replicated in the pricing. But the glassware for us is a big deal because it's like,
Oh, jeez.
how can we best field this beer?
Yeah.
When you have it, this should be in the perfect cup. And so for something like a Mexican lager, if you're going to go outside, you should have a little bit less so that you can drink it faster and enjoy it the full time, and then go get something else if
So
you want
do
to do it
you-
again or not.
and I know you used the word price adjust. How much is a 13-ounce glass of this?
$5 after
Okay.
tax. So everything that we have is post-tax.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. I hate that.
So
You know-
$5.50 for our Pilsner and a half liter. That comes in the Stein. Our most expensive beer right now is $8.50 post-tax. That's our double IPA, 8.2%.
Oh shit.
Our IPAs are 7.5. The majority of our menus are within $5, $5.50. And we try to keep it that way. It's more about let people have some fun.
Yeah.
The
Do
last
you
thing I should do
have
is worry about
a food truck?
every day.
And
Every day
what's
a
your
new
food truck?
It rotates.
Oh, okay.
So my wife's got us booked out till September.
Wow.
The second she decides to make the schedule, she'll have us booked out until probably February.
Wow.
Very fortunate to have good food trucks that want to be there. We don't charge, they don't charge us. We just get to live nice and symbiotically.
Right.
So it's a lot of fun, and there's so many good people in that. But no, our big thing is, man, everyone's been paying enough for everything. Inflation's been doing a number
Yeah.
on every
Yeah.
facet of life. When you want to go have a beer and unwind, you should not have to feel like it's a trip to a high-end restaurant. It's not, I mean, $8 for a beer, although we have one at $8.50. It's a big beer, it's 16 ounces.
Right. Imperials, that's
That's
different story.
But when you're paying $8 for a light beer,
Right.
oh
That's
my God, are you kidding me? How are you supposed to how are you supposed to enjoy that moment when you know that every sip you take is $1?
right.
That's miserable.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
it
an
is.
expensive sip.
Yeah.
That's what makes you
better be
stop
damn
wanting to
good.
drink beer.
Rob, why did you come to Boise? Why Boise? I mean, 1,000 cities all over the Pacific Northwest.
Are you not glad he's here?
Yes.
I mean, the way you said it, it's like, hey, dude, why Boise? I mean,
Hey, maybe
why
it's-
the fuck are you here?
I think it's your time for supper. Maybe you need to go.
Oh, the supper sounds really good right now. I wish you had a food truck.
Yeah, you could definitely
know-
keep him in business.
When you you're such an ass.
I am. Sorry.
So why Boise?
Yeah.
How could you not want to be here?
Okay, maybe I should say, how did you find out about Boise?
So my dad had done business here way, way long ago. Actually, before he had a business, he was a traveling musician. And so this is one of the cities that he came and played in. It's where actually he made his first ever investment in. And so he had bought a small home here for his, at the time, I think, girlfriend's mom to live in, or Lord knows what.
All right.
But over the years, he had done a good amount of business and always really loved what Boise was. And so as I was in California, kind of getting out of beer school, the goal was to get out of California. It was to find where was going to be the place that was going to best represent myself. And then, as my wife and I met, where was the best place that was going to represent us, as a collective. And so we looked at different places, and really Boise was it. The climate here is, maybe some people don't love the snow or love the heat in the summer, but you get 4 seasons. You have friendly people at every single corner, and you have an up-and-coming city that is just full of opportunity. The biggest thing, though, for us is the community. You have a place where you actually want to talk to your neighbor, and you guys are a perfect example of that.
Fucking neighbors.
You know,
We got a good fence.
but you get to enjoy those parts of life that in a lot of other places have quite honestly been taken away from us. But it's such an important piece to the well-roundedness of your life. Yeah, you spend a lot of time at work, but then you go home. And what do you do at home? Do you hate the person living next to you? Do you hate everyone who you interact with? And if
Do you
you
not
do,
know
then
them at
you,
all?
then you
Right.
need to go away.
Dude,
And
all
this
right.
is a perfect place to be.
So one thing
Oh, shit.
you said,
Here
you
we
spend
go.
a lot of time at work. If you could get a job like Mark's, you don't have to spend a lot of time at work. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Wow. Off the rails
The last thing
already.
is the family values.
Yeah.
One thing that we've noticed, and I don't think we noticed it before we opened, fully, but now that we are open, everyone brings their dog and their kids to a brewery, to our place of business. A third of the people that show up have a stroller with them or a newborn on the hip, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, we're going to go into this kind of, we're going to go to the brewery, we're going to go drink, and we're going to go get out of control. It's, no, this is a respectable family environment where everyone just gets to have a good time. I don't think we see a lot of people getting out of control. I think people really understand, like, hey, we're kind of in this thing together. And so my wife and I spent 3 days here before we bought a house. And that was all, we would have bought the house day one because you feel it instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I can do justice by putting anything into words, but the second we got off the plane, the second we walked around the downtown, it was, yeah, this is different. There is something special about Idaho. There is something really special about Boise. And, we just want to be in it. We want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is really no place that I've been to since moving here that has even been close to living up to that. We go back to visit family, here and there. I go to Seattle. It's, oh my God, I can't believe we lived here. We go to, Southern California. It's the same thing. And whether it's the traffic or the kind of garbage on the streets, but it's, man, we live in a good place right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to continue to be a great place to live.
So on the back of a truck the other day, it said, "I know I'm in Boise. Someone held the door for me today." And that it's so simple, but it's true. You don't walk into an Extra Mile or a Jackson's or anywhere without someone holding the door for you. And people that are somewhere else in the country or anywhere else, they won't understand what we're talking about, but that is the epitome of what you're saying.
I had a job in Twin Falls, essentially, when we moved here, maybe a couple months after. And so to get there and go brew, brewing's kind of an early morning thing if you want to get home and have any time with your family. And so I was leaving at 2, 3 in the morning. Typically, I would take my wife's car because it got a hell of a lot better mileage than my 8-mile-a-gallon truck. And so
Right.
I'd go to the gas station, I'd fill it up in the morning, and then go to the gas station on my way home, so it was always full. 2, 3 in the morning, half a mile from our house, I pull up to the gas station. Guy pulls up, zips up next to me, gets out of the car, and starts chatting to me. Gives me a business card, says, "Hey, I'd love to buy you a coffee sometime. Let's talk. I've got, XYZ businesses, just want to talk to you." I'm sitting here at 3 in the morning in California. It's the end of my life.
Yeah.
It's over. I'm
You're like
see you
making
later.
sure you're
Yeah, where am I? But in Boise, it's somebody coming up to you, sparking a conversation, having genuine interest in your life, what you're doing. He asked me about my career, what do I like to do. Maybe he was trying to defraud me, but I highly doubt it. I don't think he was asking any questions that were of that nature. It was just somebody who wanted to talk. And you see that at the grocery store.
Yeah.
You see that at the gas station at 2 or 3 in the morning. You see that on every single street here in this town, in the city, and it's contagious.
Yeah.
Because you come here as somebody who's maybe, a little bit jaded. You get to that experience and you think, what does that person want from me? What do you need? What are you trying to get out of me?
Yeah.
And now it's like, man, I'd go talk to somebody on the street. Yeah, that doesn't bother me at all. That's somebody who just wants to share their day.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think as a native Idahoan, you tend to lose that. You tend to not recognize that as much because it's just normal, everyday. That's what we do.
Yeah. Speaking of which, and I'm going to throw us off the rails for a minute, as
Oh, shit.
usual.
Oh, yeah. Let's
we're
take-
on to
Right.
something different. David, tell us what we're drinking, please.
Thank you, Mike.
This is our dry hop lager. It's called Hello Sailor. And for people like Mark who would drink a Pilsner and
Right.
still wish, man, I wish there was a little more hop character in that beer. This is what we created for you. This is
That's
your
great,
beer, basically.
yeah.
I was thinking about you when I made this beer.
I'm sure you were.
Similar, it's got Wireman Extra Pale Pills base. Also includes Sapphire. Just I cannot not use Sapphire when I make lagers. It's so good. But we dry hop this with it's rotated. I think every few batches we've rotated out what we dry hop it with. But the batch you're drinking right now uses Grüngeist, which is sort of a newer German hop that has these really, they're subtle, but they're like, to me it's like Mountain Dew. It's like the citrus character that reminds me of drinking Mountain Dew as a kid. But that dry hop brightens the nose, gives you a little bit something else. But it's still a very clean, dry finishing, crisp beer. I use the same water profile on this that we also use on our Pilsner.
And really what this is, maybe you're skirting the lines of saying it or not saying it, it's essentially our Pilsner with a dry hop.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I hope that was clear.
But
Yeah.
we'll just put it out there. It's, everyone's doing the West Coast Pilsner right now.
That is a thing.
It's a name. It used to be IPL, India Pale
That's
Lager.
right.
It's been a lot of things, a lot of different times.
A lot of nomenclature has
We
changed.
felt
Yeah.
like dry hop lager was the most generic, proper way to get past trends.
it is.
West Coast Pilsner, you think maybe it's higher ABV, you think it's going to be harshly bitter.
Yeah.
A West Coast Pilsner tastes like this. We just call it dry hop lager because a Pilsner is a lager, this is dry hop. That's the only difference to it. It's very simple.
So that kind of brings up a good point. When you think West Coast Pilsner, maybe you think it is a little, for the person that doesn't drink beer, maybe they think that is hoppier because it's West Coast.
It can be.
Do you
It can
think-
be. I mean, they're.
Well, it can be, sure.
Do you think a lot of people that don't drink beer are listening
I'm not.
to us?
I'm not saying like beer. I'm saying like
My
IP
mom's going to listen to this later.
lagers,
so
pilsners.
She does not
Alright.
drink beer.
Hi, David's
Shit.
mom.
I love you, Mom.
She okay with us swearing? 'Cause I think
She's perfectly fine, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Hell no.
All right, off the rails again. One more time, off the rails. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks
But no,
for,
that was. I
bringing
mean,
us back.
we do
Right.
need to talk about these beers that we're drinking.
Yeah, I have a problem.
Jeez.
I just love beer, and these are the kind of beers that I love.
Yeah, this is right up your alley.
It really is. I mean,
Yes, I have recently broadened my horizon. As Mike has said, my taste buds have bloomed. And I mean, back in the day, I was huge Bud Light fan before it was an issue. Sorry.
why did you
I
go
Well,
Bud Light fan?
well,
That's the
It's
way some of
pride.
us go. I'm from California.
it was.
How'd you get here? Oh, I followed the parade. Oh, all right.
Yeah, I don't know what parade you're following, but anyway, so I was really big into it back in the day, and then I started craft beer entered my life. I started drinking porters, stouts, and then that got out of hand, and then I started going to IPAs, and that's kind of where I've been stuck until recently, to where I've been back to the porters, stouts, pilsners, lagers,
Yeah.
all the
I've
light
noti-
stuff.
I notice.
I know, it's
I think
crazy.
that's something that's happening to a lot of people.
It happened to me.
Is that when you go into craft beer, you assume anything light is off the table now. I now love craft beer, and so I must only love IPA and anything over 6%.
If you remember, Stone
Now
Brewing
we're getting
had
back into this,
Yeah.
and we're going, hey, you know what? Light beer is craft beer,
Yeah.
and it's I might have distanced myself from Coors or Bud or whatever it might have been, but there's a craft option that is interesting today.
Yeah.
That I didn't have, and that wasn't really available when I got into craft beer, and so I always discredited it. Said, "Oh yeah, no, they're just going down to big beer." I mean, it's always been there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You look at import beer,
Yeah.
German beers
Oh,
in
yeah.
particular. Now, find an IPA,
Yeah.
find a porter.
There's
It's
no-
all lager. It's fantastic. People have loved it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But American craft beer was big, bright, hoppy.
Yeah, back in the day, it was those IPAs were just hot bombs. And I loved them.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I'm not quite into that anymore.
But you are getting older. That could be playing into it.
Yeah, but if you can go back in time, like I remember one of my first. So I remember drinking Arrogant Bastard from Stone.
That was
when
a rite of passage.
I was 18. My
Whoa,
move was,
you started
was
early.
2 bombers. I would get 2 bombers of that, and then
Mhm.
I would switch to Coors Light. That was my move. But the first time I
Kill the
had,
palate, enjoy the beer.
Right, right,
and then hydrate. Yeah.
right.
But that was so intense, so unbelievably palate-wreckingly intense. And so was the IPA and their smoked porter. I drank everything Stone I could get my hands on when I was in college. And but I wonder sometimes if I go back in time as me now and I drink it, it wouldn't taste as intense.
No.
It was intense because it was so new.
Right.
Like, yeah, maybe things have changed how the beer is made. Like, I don't know, but I know for sure that I've gotten used to way more intense tasting beers than, when I switched from it was Bud Light, Coors Light, and maybe like Boston Lager, which is a phenomenal beer. But that first leap you take, everything tastes so intense.
Mm-hmm.
My first into the industry or into beer was with Big Domestic. My dad gave me, we were on a vacation, he let me have a sip of his beer. It was Coors Light. It was bitter and it sucked. Now have a Coors Light.
Yeah, right.
I go, hey, I could do this all day. This doesn't bother me whatsoever. It's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
And so absolutely to what you're saying,
true.
it's all about tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
Bitterness is one of those things that we are programmed as people to shy away from because it means poison.
Yeah.
That's our biological setting, is that if it's bitter, it means it's wrong. So the fact, even honestly, that people have liked IPAs in general is amazing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that is just, hey, can you unprogram yourself from your biological
Right.
state and say, hey, bitterness is good? And it is good. If you like that, I think, though, realistically, people just want easy.
Mm-hmm.
I know I drank IPA to impress people.
I for sure drank Arrogant Bastard to impress people.
It was
It's impressive.
literally rite of passage kind of stuff. Is you had to be able to down a bomber of Arrogant Bastard. If you were to actually sit there and puff your chest out and say, I like craft beer.
Yeah.
If you couldn't do that, you're kind of halfway in. You're in the kiddie pool section.
Yeah.
If I'm in a
Wow.
if
Gone.
If I'm looking for a roadie and they've got that Arrogant Bastard, dude, I'm all over it. That's my get home beer.
So each one of us had our own beer that we drank to impress people.
What was yours, Mark?
Mine was back in the day with the
PBR.
Ice House and the Red Dog and that weird bullshit they came out, the charcoal filtering.
Red Wolf.
It was terrible.
Oh yeah.
Terrible. But I drank it. It was big in ABVs and IBUs, but that was the thing. If you were cool, you drank that shit. What about you, Mike?
I drank a lot of just regular Budweiser for a very long time.
Bud Heavy.
Bud Heavy, yep. And I knew that I probably was drinking too much Budweiser when one time we were deer hunting, and my nephew comes in and he says, "Hey, Uncle Mike," he'd been out in the blind, and he says, "I've calculated that you've drank enough Budweiser to fill a whole Budweiser semi." And I'm like, wow, it might be time to change. And that's when I found PBR.
Yeah, good change.
Get a different semi.
Right.
Swap brands. We
Right.
can fill another one.
Well, this is, I don't know if this is the time in the show, but we are making a beer for summer release that is inspired much by Bud Heavy and Busch Regular, which is my favorite. macro
Okay.
lager.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's just straight up Busch. In my opinion, that's the best macro lager.
I might have to give you
Yeah.
a hug before you leave.
I can't find it anywhere out here. Busch Light's everywhere, though.
Yeah.
And we were in Friend Buyer.
Market Street.
Market Street has it?
Yeah.
Of course it does. Market
It's
Street has
got everything.
everything. Market Street's why I moved to Idaho.
They've also got us. So I'm just going to give that plug.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
You can go to the bar, order a Bert's, go to the beer section, buy a Bert's. That's
Perfect.
my one plug.
There you go.
Market Street was the first place you brought me my first trip to Idaho
We
with
Ubered there.
our good
Yep.
friend Dan.
We knew what night
From-
we were getting into.
Yep. And Rob just said, where are we going? We're going to this grocery store. Why?
Well, we're gonna have a couple cocktails.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a couple beers. We're gonna stare at meat like we know what we're looking at.
Yeah.
It's a live
We're
band.
gonna go home.
While
we're
drinking.
gonna try to cook this thing.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I think we
you
spent
also
3
made
and
like
a half
one of the
hours
best
there.
steaks I've ever had in my life.
Well, that's a sous vide.
It was so
One of
good.
the only grocery stores you can actually drink and shop at.
It was
a
quite an
fantastic place,
experience
and
for
they've got two really good beer stewards there, Mitch and Jonathan.
Okay.
Those guys will find you.
Yep.
And they will find you some good beer.
Are you?
And so Mitch and Jonathan are there. I swear, my wife and I have been going there 2.5 years.
Yeah.
We probably go twice a week. So I get 2 good conversations with Mitch a week about beer.
Yeah.
He's a big
Yeah.
Belgian fan, so maybe one day we'll do something along those lines for him.
That would be awesome.
So when you guys first opened, how many beers did you have on tap?
6.
6 beers.
Yeah.
How many do you have on tap now?
Man, we're probably at 16. In total, I think we've probably done close to 24 different varieties.
Wow.
Different separate beers.
So, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, it's for us. We are a heavily rotating place. We do a lot of stuff,
Keeps
and
me
I think we have
excited.
stuff
Yeah.
that's seasonal. But you can say no to anything that I say here. But
no.
as
There we go.
you know, as we were signing David on officially, it was a conversation of, hey, you know, we've got these 4 cores, we've got some seasonal rotating stuff. Aside from that, it's kind of a collaborative / like, for lack of a better term, am I allowed to cuss here?
Yeah.
No, you can't say a fucking word like
All
that.
right.
Wow.
It's a part between a collaborative and a fuck it approach
Yeah.
for David. It's, you know, come in here, you know what you're doing, go make the beers that you want to make. And, you know, I think that we're just kind of getting into that point of the production schedule where we're going to have some of those really fun fuck it beers.
Yeah.
And I think David can probably key into some of the things that, you know, maybe are on his mind. But, you know, we've got the course to take care of that, you know, take care of, you know, standard business. We've got seasonals that are just going to rotate. And then we've got a lot of stuff that's supposed to be creative. We didn't bring David in here to follow the rule book. We brought him in here to go have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
Very
And that's
cool.
exactly what he should be doing. And it's exactly what he, I hope, is doing, is, you know, figuring out what it's going to be that, hey, I haven't got to brew this in a while, or I want to go try something new out. There's not a better person in this world that is, you know, for that job of, let me go have some fun. You know,
Yeah.
He talked a little bit about his homebrew experience. That means a lot. Managing a homebrew store, understanding ingredients to the extent that he does, I mean, holy moly. What he's going to be able to do with what I hope is, and what is, unlimited freedoms in beers is going to be phenomenal.
I'm also pretty lucky that the things we brought today, our core beers, are the things I really like to make.
Mhm.
I like to nerd out on pale lagers and the subtle differences between different ones, right? Like I get to nerd out about water. That really excites me. And there's even a spot I think coming up on our schedule where you put down like one-off lager.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't even know what I want to make. I mean, how nerdy can I get?
Right.
All the way.
That's cool.
50% rye.
If you can somehow get that into
Wow.
the kettle, then yes.
Yeah. And then 50% rice hulls.
That's the trick is we need 50% something that can't move and 50% something that forces the move. And 1% 49.50 and 1% Wireman extra pale premium.
Yeah, I do love that malt.
So how big is your system?
We're a 15 barrel system. Right now,
Jeez.
today, we can do approximately 2,700 barrels a year. and by the end of June, we'll be able to do about 4,100 barrels a year.
Wow.
And so right now we're operating at capacity. We project that by the end of June, once we have this system up and running, maybe that's kind of mid-July. Just got some news on that today, that we continue to operate at capacity. We've got a fantastic distribution team that operates. We just hired a salesperson today, or not today, sorry, this week. We're trying to get these pieces put in together. We've got David here who's doing a phenomenal job. He's got a cellarman coming on in a week, I think, on Wednesday.
About a week.
Yeah, exactly a week. So we've got a lot of pieces kind of moving forward. We're trying to have some fun then and bring our
Cool.
beer around.
All right. Hey, I have to cut.
Let me.
No.
Just let me. All right. All right. Yeah, I got it too.
Yeah, Mark, you get to watch Rob stomach down
Anytime
a few sips of IPA.
Anytime I've ordered an IPA at our bar, everyone looks at me like I've lost my mind.
Yeah.
Like, what is? Are you okay?
okay? Are you in pain?
Are things happening at home that we should know about? Like, not that I know of. I'm just trying to see if I can actually understand our
Rob,
menu.
you are beautiful. Your life is worth living.
You don't.
Keep going, buddy.
You don't like your own IPA?
I like this one more than I like other ones.
He's not an IPA.
It's a.
I believe you. That was an honest answer.
That's
Like,
my brother-in-law that's here from Michigan right now.
I'm just not.
Um,
If I get a choice, it's not my style.
he will not drink one. Because I've tried it, and it's just not my
I think
jam.
I
That
think
being
it
said,
helped when you were
our-
trying to impress people in college.
session
though,
IPA,
and it
I will
forces
drink.
you to like convince yourself that you like it.
What is it? What is it about an IPA? We should have this.
It's,
on the
it's
tape.
just.
Oh yeah, we should definitely be recording right
That's
now.
fine.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
No, that's okay. We're going.
I was just saying.
It's good.
To me, session IPA is the way to go. Like, it's, to me, it's more of a body thing. I want to feel like I'm drinking a lager. I don't like the, again, my wife and I having lunch yesterday, I had a sip of her IPA. I'm like, oh my God, this thing's just sticking on my tongue. It's just too much for me.
Yeah.
Like, I
Sounds good.
can't enjoy anything that I have after. Like, I want beer that goes away.
The best IPA that you can have is the one you can chew.
Oh.
Nice and thick. Big, heavy Imperial IPA. It's like 2x4.
Mike and I are on the same.
Boom.
Nope. Wrong.
Melvin's 2x4.
I don't know if I've had it.
You got to try it. It is the one that got me hooked on IPAs. It's 9.9%. So it's a big beer,
Holy.
but it drinks a lot lighter. So it got me in trouble several times.
Nice pour.
Like those Rocky Mountains.
It's rare for a brewer to pour a beer well.
Patience.
That is something that we've only made one stronger IPA so far, but something that I always shoot for is I want my higher ABV IPAs to surprise people at how easy
Yeah.
they drink.
Right.
Right, if you can ferment it cleanly enough, and hopefully you wake up not feeling as horrible the next day too.
Man, 8.2%. The biggest thing I've heard from it is it drinks like 6.
Yeah,
That's,
And I would say that's a compliment.
yes.
Yeah.
Is that it
Absolutely.
drinks
I
easier
take it
than
that way,
takes,
yeah.
than it is.
Oh, yeah.
That means it's well done. My philosophy on beer is it should be something that you don't have to think about. Obviously, there's great podcasts that talk about beer.
Yeah, we do.
But at the same time, like when you're having beers with a friend in a bar,
Mm-hmm.
at home, in the backyard, wherever you might be, the last thing that you should be doing with that beer is worrying about it.
Right.
Hey, is that an off flavor? Is it not? No, it should just be so easy drinking that you forget it's there.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on that, Mr.
I
Campbell?
don't really
On
agree
what?
with you.
I know you don't. That's from a light
You,
beer
you like
person.
a beer to hit you in the face, don't you?
It depends on what beer. If I'm drinking a Pilsner, I don't want it to hit me in the face.
No, but
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, even my IPAs, I've gotten away from the big hop bombs, the big bitterness. I'm leaning more towards the West Coast for sure. I don't know. I'm
I actually have a question.
pretty easygoing.
Just being someone who grew up in Southern California, when you say West Coast IPA, what are you comparing it to, and what does that mean to you?
So when I say West Coast IPA, oh, what's a good one? I think of a lot less bitter, a lot more smooth, fruity, tropical notes. When I think of just regular IPA, it's bitter. You get that bitter back end. It also depends on the brewery too,
Yeah.
because I've had a lot of really good IPAs that don't have that super big bitter back end. Whew, it's all over the place.
For me, like there's always this constant change in nomenclature going on in
Yeah,
beer, especially hoppy beers. Everyone's trying to find a way to define the beer that makes people want to try it. Because super aggressively bitter beers, like that was a Stone thing. Like we called it the IBU race when I was in college. You know, a term I could talk for an hour on why I don't like the term IBU, but the making that a thing that customers paid attention to, and then seeing how many you could put in a
Right.
beer, that was a
Right.
West Coast thing.
Yeah.
But I think maybe in the last 5 years or so, West Coast breweries are kind of going the other way. So when I ask someone
Stone
like,
Delicious IPA.
oh, that's a good example.
I mean, to me,
Mm.
that's West Coast IPA.
It's
The
good.
other one's Sculpin.
Yeah.
Oh,
For sure.
And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Those two,
Yeah.
Goody.
that is like
Yeah.
same region, but man, same rough kind of intro into market.
hmm
Try those
Yeah.
again. Honestly, like to credit to what you're saying is like
Mhm.
even looking at like our West Coast IPA or Chapman's West Coast IPA. Not that it's overly different, but compare that to Stone Delicious and Ballast Point Sculpin. And it's like, dude, this is like a 90s IPA now for the Stone and the Ballast Point. And now
Right.
you look at West Coast and it's like, okay, yeah, it's bitter, it's got a bite at the front, but it's dry hop heavy, and so it's aromatic, it's bright, it's fruity, it's got a lot on the nose, less on the tongue.
Right.
And even Stone Delicious IPA, which is a phenomenal beer, and Sculpin, which is a phenomenal beer, man, those drink heavier. Like, they did not drink
Yeah.
basically a Pilsner body, give or take. It just feels very, very different.
I'm always just curious to know like what people mean, because some people say West Coast IPA and they mean it's clear versus it's not a hazy.
No.
Yeah, and
Right.
No.
that's exactly what comes to mind for me, because I've been educated through over the fence. And so it could be a little cloudy anyway.
You know, to me, it's a very distinctive taste between. Well, I can't even say that because each brewery is different.
Yeah.
Totally true.
Some breweries call it a West Coast, and it's really good. Some breweries call this an IPA, but it tastes kind of like a West Coast.
You can really compare them to like comparatively to what they normally make. This is what they are saying is this style because it's different from their other ones. Like when I interviewed for the job at Chapman Crafted, the head brewer, I was joking about the difference between stout and porter. And so he said, well, what is the difference between stout and porter? And I said, it's whatever the brewer's calling it.
So,
Yeah.
shit.
And
Right.
Difference.
Right.
so educate us. Is that really the difference between stout and porter?
What I meant was that I might make a stout and it's super roasty and quite bitter. Another brewer might make their same style of stout and it drinks totally differently. It's softer, it's sweeter, it's less bitter. I mean, if I'm the guy making the super bitter stout, my brown porter might taste like their stout. So it's, it's sort of like a sliding scale.
Yeah.
And so really the difference between stout and porter in my mind ultimately is within the brewery and the way that they make beers. Then I can tell you some differences there had better be between those two beers, or even between like brown ale. Because even someone's brown ale might sneak into the roasty side sometimes.
Yeah.
Or it might be sweet nutty. So
It's kind of like Mike, sweet and nutty.
Wow.
But that's kind of where you get into too much of this this philosophy on what is a style.
Right.
Style is what you make it. For us, this says India Pale Ale on our can. Somebody might pick this up and go, "Yep, that's typical classic IPA." For somebody, that might be the case.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, this is because of the TTB.
I was just gonna say the TTB.
Because they have
Fucking
decided.
TTB.
Well, yeah.
You want to talk
Fucking
about useless appendages?
We had West Coast IPA on this can, and they had to basically made us take it off. 'Cause
What?
we are not on the West Coast, and we would have to say West Coast style India Pale Ale, and it honestly did not fit with the writing.
They have that kind of authority?
They have all the authority.
Isn't that nuts?
They rejected us 3 times on this can. This is the most troublesome can we've had. And so for a customer now, they pick this up and they go, "This is an India Pale Ale." And they probably expect some crystal malt in this. And they expect more bitter. In all honesty, and when you look on the side in the writing, it goes, "This West Coast style India Pale Ale." Because that's actually what it does. It's a West Coast IPA. But they won't let us say West Coast IPA. Because we are not located on the West Coast. We are in inland state.
So you're talking
So
about the federal.
Federal TTB, the federal government
And-
has huge restrictions. Mexican lager, we had it as Mexican lager. It now says Mexican style lager because it was geographically misleading
So
to our people. And so they said you can either put that it was made in America, that it was made by you in your city, which we have, and we did that. And they said it's still misleading. So we still had to put style instead of just Mexican lager, which is a style of beer that is very well respected and understood.
Now I'm getting riled up.
Uh-oh, here we go.
do they have to? Do you send them
We
your?
have to send everything in. They go through
Oh
it's
shit!
cold
I had
registrations.
no idea they did
Every
that.
single label has to be inspected, and they give you notes. And there are different people
shit.
who have different ideas of what is and isn't allowed.
They don't
I have
agree
had people
within
who say
themselves.
No. Well, another person, if I submit that again, say yes.
Well, it's
Right.
subjective.
And you have 3
Yeah.
chances at this. If you miss by the 3rd, it is over. You have to now create a new submission.
Wow, I had no idea.
And so we got to our last submission. And we had an internal conversation of, quite honestly, fuck it. We need to just play by the stupid
Right,
rules.
play by the rules.
And stop trying to push West Coast IPA because they're not going to let us have West Coast IPA. They're going to make us have not West Coast style IPA, but it would have to be West Coast style India Pale Ale.
Wow.
Wow.
Try to find that in 2 inches of text.
Yeah.
And also it has to be big enough that people, the consumer, can read it.
Right.
And so it has to have a certain amount of space to your other names. Otherwise, it will be
At
kicked
this
off.
point in craft beer, I think saying India Pale Ale, less consumers even understand that versus saying IPA.
Yeah.
Right.
IPA is almost like a generic term. Like people will talk about, oh yeah, I drink, mostly I just drink my Budweiser, but I like IPAs too. And I go, what IPAs? And they'll name something that isn't IPA, but it's a craft beer.
It's like a pale ale. It's Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sierra
but
Nevada
but
Pale
any
Ale.
craft beer is like, the IPAs. It's so generic
Hmm.
that saying India Pale Ale is confusing more people.
Wow.
But it's, and this is a new effort by the TTB. And it's a mess.
Imagine.
I mean,
Yeah, to say the least.
in all honesty, it's craft beer's gone popular enough to a point where now we have new restrictions and new guidelines, and it has made this industry less approachable, not only for the investor, the owner, the brewer, but also the consumer. And it's terrifying, honestly. If there's one thing, the rock in the shoe,
Mm-hmm.
it's over governance.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's never
Absolutely.
happened.
No,
Shit.
in the history of this governed country, it has never ever happened.
So,
No.
all that aside, I'm sorry. We have popped a new beer.
Oh yeah.
We have
This is
our
the
India Pale Ale, not IPA, not
No,
West Coast
not
IPA.
West
I
Coast.
was getting all riled up.
Don't
definitely
do
not
the
West
style in
Coast.
there.
What are we drinking?
We are drinking our West Coast inspired India Pale Ale. It's definitely not West Coast IPA.
Legally, no.
This is our staple IPA. So recipe wise, there's a
Let
few
'em
hops in
get to
there.
it. Fuck.
Who's gonna like this?
Oh yeah, kettle side. This is
Shout out Michigan.
Yeah, this is all Michigan grown Centennial hops.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Much fruitier.
This is sort of an aside, but the hops coming out of Michigan right now are really wonderful.
Yeah.
The soil there is producing varieties typically grown in Pacific Northwest are being grown in Michigan, and it tends to be a fruitier profile, a little bit less of like that dank resin pine. I love both, but I love the Centennial coming out of Michigan right now.
Please, man, it's pineapple.
Shout out to Hophead Farms, who we bought that through. So that's featured on like the hot side in the kettle for this beer. The dry hop features some more of that Centennial. Also features Citra and Laurel. Laurel not often used a lot in IPAs, but it's a combination of lemon and floral. Laurel, it's both things. It's very bright hop, so I like the way that Laurel can sort of brighten the nose on hops that tend to be a little more like dank, like lower sort of bass note, kind of like different speakers really.
Actually, I think this beer originally was supposed to be lemon drop.
It was supposed to be lemon drop, but and then you said I put Laurel in there.
Well, I couldn't order lemon drop.
You said, I'm David, I'm a brewer, I'm going to put this one in there.
This was before this
was
recipe
before he was
was
up
established before I moved here.
Ah,
Yeah,
Okay.
That's back when I was just throwing stuff in there.
but it was actually it was really great. So I've kept it as Laurel. So yeah, Citra, Laurel, and that Michigan Centennial. I absolutely love. I love how balanced the nose is because you have that Citra gives it that really overly ripe tropical fruit. The Centennial is a little bit of that pine still, but that lemon citrus, and the Laurel is kind of that bright, floral citrus. I think it does a really good job of being balanced. The grist is primarily it's Great Western Idaho Pils, which is obviously it's all grown in Idaho. A really nice Pilsner malt base. It's very clean. We use that in a lot of our hop forward beers. We'll feature. It's called again Great Western Pure Idaho. It's very good. And then a little bit of Great Western Premium 2-Row, which is like their base, sort of not quite as light, slightly more bready malt. So it's about 60-30 or 65-30.
okay.
Which honestly, good chance it was grown in Idaho, considering Idaho is the #1 barley producer in the country.
Yep.
And so, number 1, and I think number 2 or 3 on hops.
Yep, that's true.
I mean, this is a growing state for raw ingredients.
Mhm.
We get a lot of nice early access or good access to that.
Yeah.
You touched briefly on things to come. What else is up and coming?
Let's see. The thing I'm most excited for is our American Lager. That's going to be coming out in June.
Get ready for gold tops.
Oh yeah,
Local
cans are gonna
gold
be-
tops.
pretty cool.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Gold tops are, if you remember Rainier, it's the gold lids, gold tabs, all that. That's old school
Okay.
beer.
Yep.
So we're bringing that back. We're going to go into 12 ounce for the first time.
Oh wow.
Probably only time, to be honest with you. Be a 6-pack cardboard. It's going to be, honestly, a throwback beer.
We're really
Okay.
excited. We've talked throughout this about our favorite American lagers, and this beer is sort of a mashup between two specific ones that I really enjoy, being Bud Heavy, which the adjunct feature in that beer is rice, and then a whole bunch of other ones. Bush is my favorite. I don't know this for sure, but to me it tastes like it's corn. But when, at our previous brewery, Chapman Crafted, this was I think 2 years ago, we were going to do a 4th of July beer, and so I thought of the name Thirst Amendment, which is still, I think, what they call it. I was trying to think of the recipe, and I was talking to one of my brewers, who I'll shout out, Eric Going, phenomenal brewer, really good dude. And I was like, I can't decide if I want this to be rice or if I want it to be corn. And he just said, well, why not?
"¿Por qué no los dos?"
So why not both? And I hadn't even thought about it. It's like, well, why not use both rice and corn? So we did. The beer was used Breeze Pills as the base, and then it was about maybe 10% each, flaked rice and flaked corn. And I loved the way it came out. It didn't taste too much like either one, but it tasted like traditional, like American adjunct lager. It was so beautiful. So we're going to be making kind of my version of that up here. Ours will feature a mix of like Wireman Extra Pale Pills, some Breeze Pills as well, and then that rice and corn combination. Hop-wise, fairly similar to Vaquero, the first beer that we had, where it's a lot. It's bittering hops. We want some bitterness there. This has a little bit of Whirlpool hops as well, but just a little bit to let you know, like there's some hops in this beer, but it's really about that dry, crisp beer that finishes sweet but not cloying and just washes away. You want to drink, a 6-pack of 12-ounce cans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're familiar with that.
So that's on the way.
Yeah,
Never done that. But
So what about any type of collabs with any other?
hold on. Before we go forward to your collab,
We've got
When
a good
is
answer
that?
on that too.
Okay.
when is that coming out?
They say it.
It will be canned if everything can go properly. June 24th. Available for purchase, at least in our tasting room, June 25th. But we are now working with our brand new head of sales on getting that some good locations, just all around Idaho. I mean, where
Right.
we're distributed at. To get a quick release out for 4th of July, we look at this as our love letter to American lager.
Okay.
And
So
what better day to have it
Right.
be for than 4th of July?
4th of July.
I'm so excited.
So before we get to collab,
You're like a little kid with this, aren't you?
This beer excites me more than any other beer that I've.
When was the
that I
last
make.
brewer that you saw that was excited to make macro lager?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a little weird. At least.
Honestly, if you poll most brewers and ask them like what do they want to drink, they're gonna name one of like 6 macro American lagers.
If you're in Southern California, you're going to hear a lot of hams.
Yeah,
Oh,
you'll hear
Hams
hams
is
a
a
lot.
very popular
Damn.
beer among brewers.
It is
Wow.
banquet.
Yeah.
Your
David
banquet
doesn't
lags
agree
it.
with me on this one, but Spotted Cow. Love that.
Don't know that one.
New Glarus.
So before we get to collab, I did have one question about the canning.
Mhm.
Do you can your own beer, or do you have somebody come in and do it for you?
We don't currently. We have Boise River Canning come in.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have them come in, I think on schedule right now, maybe once a month, twice a month, depending on kind of production and all that. But I think we've really started to find a groove with them where it's gone, I think, pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It is going well.
And it's fun.
Good.
I think going
Yeah.
back to the days at Chapman, canning days
Mm-hmm.
are kind of like that, Friday back in high school where you get like the half day.
Right. Yep.
You're at work, but you're not really at work.
Right.
You start at 9 in the morning. The beers are open at 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
They continue that way until you're done, and then you have some cleanup to do because, hey, let's be respectful. or
We had a
whatever.
phenomenal mobile canning company at Chapman Crafted. Shout out to
Boom
Boom
Hut.
Hut Mobile
Yep.
Canning.
Absolutely.
Andreas, phenomenal guy.
That guy
I miss that guy.
he's fantastic. That guy's he's the truth. But no, I mean, canning days are supposed to be fun.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of a day off. All you gotta do is put pack techs on and put beers into case trays and make sure that they weigh the correct amount.
Right.
Which is
Joke
important.
around.
But it's a good life.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now back to the collab.
I think we've got some good stuff in the works. There's some hopeful ones that we have on the horizon that we shouldn't share because it'll probably scare off some people.
Okay.
But there's a couple ones. I mean, I'm going to give a little shout out to the competition that we're entering into. that I think we talked a little bit about before we
Yeah.
started on air, which is the Bitburger Prost Pilsner Challenge. So if we can win this thing,
Yeah.
and we've got 12 breweries throughout the United States that were hand-selected to be a part of it. We are fortunate enough to be a part of that. We would get a collab with the famous Bitburger Brewery, which would be monumental for us. Now, if we don't win, we're still going to have a better time than everyone else is. So,
Right. Right.
not really concerned about that, but it would be phenomenal if that could happen. We're excited to be invited to that. That speaks volumes to the work that David does in the brewery and in production. We're not invited with that off of branding. No offense to my wonderful wife. We're invited that because of the quality of the beer
Right.
that we have.
Absolutely.
And that is all David. And so I cannot give enough credit to him. I know it's June 5th to 7th in Portland at the Prost there. We're all going to go out and probably have too good of a time. So win, lose, or draw, we're going to enjoy ourselves.
We will win in fun and friendship.
There you go.
The two main categories there, we will dominate.
We will outfun everybody.
Right.
Aside from that, we've got something in the works with Prost Brewing in Denver that kind of, as of right now, is a tentative early next year. Kind of same thing with Harlan down in San Diego. Obviously, we have a relationship with Harlan being with Scout Distribution,
Right.
and so same ownership. Really phenomenal people. So really excited about that. And through Scout and kind of with our new head of sales, we're looking to the future and having some conversations about what the next collabs are. That being said, though, I mean, there was one that we recently did with Loose Screw Brewing.
Style I've always wanted to do as well.
Yeah.
The Belgian table
And
beer.
I think it's a beer that's actually almost surprisingly done well.
Surprisingly?
I mean, between Rob and I, there's almost zero experience with Belgian fermentation.
Okay.
And by
So-
almost zero, there is zero purposeful Belgian fermentation. There might be an accidental diastaticus that shows up in the
I don't know
homebrew
what you're
days,
talking
but
about.
I'll speak for myself. But no, it was a fun beer. It was fun to do it with good people, and they're opening a new location that I think is anywhere from 7,500 to 10,000 square foot in Meridian.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brewery tasting room. I mean, they're going to do a really good job. We've
It's my
talked to them a
neighborhood.
lot. They're using some of the same people that we know, and man, they've got a good crew over there. So what they end up coming out with is going to be phenomenal. I think it's something that the people of Meridian should be very excited for.
Yeah, we had way back. Honestly, I think Mike Garcia was probably one of our first guests that we had on the show, and he is super into the community,
He's cool, calm, and
community
collected.
first,
Yeah.
and he was searching for that perfect location. So I'm glad he found it. It's pretty awesome.
It's an old mortuary. And
Yeah.
so they're gonna Frankenstein that thing.
Yeah.
The dead are gonna walk, and they're gonna make that thing special.
So they're gonna have like two really great locations.
Absolutely.
Because the other one over there on was it McMillan?
Dylan
and,
and
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
like-
close to Good Apple and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's like a mile from my house.
That's
Yeah.
they're doing a really good job over there.
Yeah, they
we're
are.
really happy to have that collab with them. They're nice people,
yeah,
and so that's kind of asked about the industry. I think that was one of the first questions. Is that's what it is about? Is good people having fun together and learn from each other, and that's the whole
Jeez, you make beer.
point. It's a stupid job. You're right.
How can it not be fun?
It
okay.
is goofy.
I guess this is. I mean, we're kind of out of beer, so this is, I guess, the time that I share some beer.
Please.
Okay.
I was gonna actually ask you awkwardly to
Yes.
do that because
If you have any,
I'm out and I want another.
You know,
Said Nate?
this is one area I wanted to be kind of unique with this beer because I know what you guys brew and all that kind of stuff.
This is Coors Light.
It is not Coors Light.
PBR then.
This is something.
I'll go get one.
Okay.
This is
I'm
something.
gonna hang out with you more.
This is something probably out of the box for you. This is a sour beer.
I like sours.
Do you?
Weirdly enough, yeah.
Okay. This is a Trapdoor Instamatic. They used a weird Belizean.
And so I haven't heard a lot about Trapdoor. I heard about it today.
Yes.
So for the sake of viewership,
Yes.
how can you get it?
So right now you can get it at Brewers Haven, and Brown Beard actually has them on a guest tap.
Fantastic.
Dusty Rose has some, and Hops and Bottles. Just a few limited places around here. But they use some sort of Belizean sour sop. I don't even know if that's the right pronunciation. But they use that fruit into this sour. Trapdoor's out of Washougal and Vancouver, Washington. I got this and thought, hey, this might be fun. I actually did try this with Bryce from Brown Beard a couple weeks ago, and it was definitely different. Not my usual speed.
I'm going to cleanse my palate with my IPA.
Good for you.
Well,
Nice.
he won't let me bring crackers anymore.
Because he eats
Why not?
Because
in the
I
microphone.
do it like this.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very
So-
clean sour.
Oh, yeah, you got it in the glass. I don't.
Drinking that,
Well, if you
That,
you need to bring your own glass.
there's not a lot of sour. There's not a ton
No,
of
it's-
I mean, it's actually very approachable.
And that's one thing that I liked about this, because I'm not a huge sour guy, because some sours are too sour, but this one is
For the
not.
people listening, because you can't see us, both David and I have scaredly poured about 3 ounces into our cups to see if, like, we want to have a full pint of it.
Hey,
I
it
have
is
now
scary.
just poured a full pint of it, so it's obviously good enough for me to drink.
Yeah,
So-
you never know what you're gonna get.
Oh, yeah,
with a
exactly.
sour,
We've
right?
had
It
conversations
could be like
before
enamel
about that.
strippingly sour.
Right.
This is not that. This
No.
is a really pleasant tart.
This actually kind of reminds
It's
me
clean.
of ours.
Sometimes with sour beers, you get a lot of butyric acid, which comes through like rancid dairy or even worse than that. This is a very clean
Parmesan
sour
baby
beer.
vomit.
Right. This is not that. This is a very clean sour. I find that the tartness really pleasant. I like the body in it too. I like that sort of like soft, pillowy wheat that's coming through.
Yeah, not
Um,
overcarbed.
Yeah, this is a nice beer.
Like,
For
very enjoyable.
a person that does not drink sour beers,
Yeah.
I'll just say that
Yeah.
this is good.
This is quite honestly what
So-
the label says on it.
Yeah.
I could have this at a beach, and to me, it is somewhat in between a American sour,
Dude, you're in Idaho. Where are you going to find a beach?
Lucky Peak.
Sandy
There's a
Shores.
lower area.
Right.
Now,
Sandy
there's
Shores.
sand here and
At the
there.
bottom of the dam is a beach.
What I will say though is, like, this is a beer that to me is somewhat between an American sour and a fruited wheat.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah.
doesn't have the full tart kind of
Right.
Smack you in the face.
jaw coming up
Yeah.
Right.
sourness.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of fruit tartness. So it's got a little bit more than that, but it's really somewhere in that vicinity where it's truly approachable.
Yeah.
Drinkable.
That's easy to drink. I could have 2 of these.
So, David, I have a question for you. So, I mean, when you taste a beer, it's fun to listen to you be able to dissect it. That's impressive. When your wife serves, or when you have dinner with her, and you cut the steak and you put a piece in your mouth, you go, "Oh my God, this must be from a blah 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 blah."
Well-
I can take.
Well,
and then
David
do you
should talk
have
to
some?
about this, because you've got a theory about brewers and chefs. Every brewer has to be a good cook.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
good brewer has to
That-
be a good cook.
That tends to be true. Yeah, all the good brewers that I know tend to also cook.
Yeah, I could see that
It's
because
just-
you know how to season it, and
you're used to thinking about how does it taste, and then how does it translate into what I do differently to make it taste the way that I taste. You have to think that way. So it's just a fact that like most good brewers are also at least decent cooks.
Yeah.
Some of them are phenomenal cooks. Shout out
Stephen
Stephen
Hicks.
Hicks. Stephen Hicks, greatest barbecue I know.
He's
What is the beer that you're most proud of?
personally.
And maybe this will be
Yeah,
split. So Rob, you first.
That's a good question because, I mean, honestly, there is a lot to be proud of. And from my position, it's different. For David's the one who creates the recipes. He's the one who designs the beer. My wife is the one who creates the space. And honestly, the way that I most like the beer is in our space. I like it in the right glass, at our bar, with our people, surrounded by friends. The style that I like the most, probably in between our Pilsner and our dry hop lager. The most proud beer, or the beer that I'm most proud of, every single one of them. And I get that that's some cheeky kind of answer.
And I'm like,
Well-
all right, well, let's move on. Hey, David, what do you have?
but really,
But yeah.
honestly, like, as the person right now in my position, which I'm very grateful to be in, all of them, I'm proud of our team every single day. And I hope that they know that. And if they don't know that, I hope that they're listening.
Yeah.
And if they're not, then I'll go tell them tomorrow. But that is it. It is all about our people, who we have beside us. And we have some really, really phenomenal people. David, I've said it in this podcast already, but he is the absolute best brewer that I've ever met. He is. He's shy about it or coy about it, but it's the truth. My wife is the best designer I've ever met. You know, she turned, and I think she is honestly the revolutionary piece in what we do, is that she has changed what the tasting room is supposed to be. It goes from dark, dungeony to beautiful. I think it's a place that feels like you should be spending 5 times the amount of money that you spend.
Mm-hmm.
And yet she was actually the one that said, let's charge less. I was against it, naturally.
Yeah.
Naturally, I was wrong. No, I'm proud of every single thing that we do because of the people that are involved in it.
Well, I just checked
And
all my
I
cans,
can't
and
choose.
they're all empty. So I don't think I liked their beer.
No, I don't think you did either.
Yeah. Right.
We both choked through an IPA, even though that's not what we like.
Right.
I want to give a shout out before I give my answer to this trapdoor. This
Fantastic
is really
beer.
good.
Yeah. Really, really good beer.
Yeah.
So what about you, David? What do you think? What is your pride and joy?
This
The one
Pils.
you're most proud of?
No, it's so easy to answer. It's this Pils. I'm immensely proud of that beer.
This Pils. Nobody can see that beer
Oh yeah.
other
you're
than
right.
us.
Bert's Pils. Bert's Pils I'm incredibly proud of. I learned how to make that style of pills 6+ years ago. And then when I eventually took over the head brewing position at Chapman Crafted in 2020, a lot of people don't know about this with the brewing
I'm
industry.
going to
But
give a shout out to Brian Thorson.
yeah, absolutely.
Honestly.
Chapman's Pills sort of owes its lineage to Trumer Pills, which is made in Berkeley. The original Trumer brewery is made in Salzburg, Austria. And then they opened a brewery in Berkeley in 2004. Brian Thorson was one of the first brewers, first like shift brewer guys there. And then I think it was like 2005 or 2006, they the European Beer Star Awards, Trumer Berkeley took gold in the Pilsner category.
By the way, that was judged at Doman's in Munich.
Didn't know that. And then Trumer Salzburg took silver, so they 1-2'd the category. So Brian came down to Southern California and then started making Pilsner at Chapman Crafted, bringing in the RO system at Chapman Crafted as a necessity because the water source in Berkeley is called East Bay Mud or East Bay Utility.
That could be good.
Right, it sounds bad. It's East Bay Municipal Utility District. That water And if you go, you can look up the water profile online, and it is like insanely soft water, which is why Trumer chose that spot to build a brewery.
Okay.
Just like in Austria, the water is insanely soft. So much of it is snow melt. So that made RO a necessity at Chapman. In Orange County, California, the water is very, very hard. It's harder than Boise. Boise is kind of like medium hardness. But in Orange County, it's crazy hard. And it comes from like 4 different sources throughout the year, so it does swing a little bit. But there are
that up very quickly.
Yeah, you do.
As a brewer over there,
Yeah.
is you make a beer and you go, oh, no, the water must have changed. And then you go send to Ward Labs. Shout out Ward Labs.
Ward Labs, absolutely. Ward Labs does a great job. So the water changes throughout the year, but it's always pretty darn hard and permanent for the brew nerds. It's high in permanent hardness, and it's also high in temporary hardness. And it's the temporary hardness that is not well suited for crisp, clean, pale lagers. So RO became a necessity. And you'll find, if you're in Southern California, you'll find a handful of breweries that are using RO for that reason, especially if they want to make good, clean, pale lagers. So learning that, and then loving the pills we made at Chapman, and then when I took over as head brewer in 2020, most people don't know that hops are purchased on a contract. So they are purchased anywhere from like 3 to 5 years in advance. You sign a contract to have certain hops if you want them guaranteed to you. It's an agricultural product. There are good crop years, bad crop years. And so taking over that job, I inherited the contract from my predecessor, and that was 2020. In April of 2020, every single brewery on the planet became way too long on their hop contracts and was looking for a way to get rid of hops. I have way too many. There's way too many hops here. I can't use them all. So there was this insane interruption in the market. And so we had also planned at Chapman for a big expansion that year. We were going to increase our production capacity by 80% and had contracted appropriately for the hops. So I took over the worst hop contract situation you could imagine. And so I was on the phone with 3 different hop suppliers who I had contracts with and was trying to figure out, like, how do I get rid of hops? How do I turn this into that, thing I can't use into something I can use? Mm-hmm. And so the way that pills had to get brewed for 3 years was based on hops I could use. It wasn't the exact... I was proud of the Pilsner and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted to make. So coming to Bert's, we don't have a hop contract. I have freedom in a very healthy spot market right now to buy hops. So the pills that you're drinking right now is something I'm absolutely proud of because it is exactly the pills I want to make. I'm not compromising anything with that beer. That is the pills I could drink for the rest of my life, and I'm very proud of it.
Mike, final thoughts.
Wow.
Yours, King.
Wow.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Man
of many words.
Yeah.
That was 3 wows from Siskel and Ebert.
Right.
About that age too, huh? Oh wait, isn't one of them dead?
I think they're both dead, aren't
Are
they?
they both dead? Holy shit! When did they both die?
I don't know.
All right, we're moving on.
Yes.
All right, so
I'm
Yeah.
kind of fun. It's fun to watch the beer guys drink beer, and
It's like watching Caveman.
yeah.
No.
So
you drink. No, you drink.
wrapping it up. You know what? I'm going to go back to Vaquero. Is that
It is.
a proper pronunciation?
Yep.
You guys hit it out of the park.
Thank you.
That's a good beer. I hate to say it, but I'm probably going to go out of my way to find it. I don't have to go much out of my way because
Boise Co-op, Albertsons Market Street, and soon to be Whole Foods.
Nice.
all right.
Very good. And
I really enjoyed.
hold on. Sorry,
Sorry.
Mike. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
in
you
your
asked
deep thought
me,
right
and
there.
then.
But do you have cans to go at your
We do.
place?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Cans to go
Anytime
at his
that you
place.
want a beer
Right.
that we do in cans, it's always going to be at our place. So.
Okay.
Perfect.
Cans to go. Right
Okay.
there.
Cans to go.
Yeah.
This could be a crowler because they canned it.
Let's not get into the crowler conversation
32
again.
ounces, baby.
We don't-
Coming soon, 40s.
No way.
Welcome to
I am
Foster's.
I don't want it in a
40s.
bag. All right.
We're still working with our mobile canning line to see if they can do the 40-ounce cans. We've heard nothing but fuck yous back. So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
Okay.
But Foster's maybe in the future.
Understandable.
Okay. All right. You can always tell that there's been beer involved with our podcast.
Absolutely.
But
That's
this
what
is
it's
the
all
wrap
about.
up part of it.
Yeah,
And so
wrap up.
I would just like to say that thanks, guys, for bringing us the beers that you did today. The knowledge that you've shared.
Okay. Music's playing.
The music is
You're
playing.
getting shoved off the stage here.
And I'm getting shoved off the stage, so fuck you, Mark.
Wow. Thanks, man.
right.
Appreciate that. Rob, what do you got? Final thoughts. Final thoughts. What do you want
Music's
everybody to know?
playing.
I don't want to say anything. Well, what I'll say is I appreciate you all having us on. It really is an honor as a place like us to be on a podcast, to have any stage whatsoever, and honestly, to have a stage with such nice people. I'm so really thankful for that. Last thing I'll say is credits for us. Any praise to be given to Bert's is for everyone in our room. Our brewer, my wife, Sydney, David, all of our tasting room employees. I am surrounded by better people than myself. I'm fortunate for that. That's something I will go to the grave saying because it is the truth. That's it. Like I am an overly fortunate person for what I have to give.
Dude, you
Appreciate
give
for
beer.
all of it.
So thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
my wife
thank
gave
you.
me the beer.
Thank you for the
So-
kind words. Thank you for the beer. And I think you're doing a phenomenal job. So keep it up, honestly.
And I would like to give a shout out real quick to David,
Okay.
his wife Karen, his daughter Haley, and his hopefully named daughter Liberty Hall.
Oh, snap.
I lost it on Liberty. I tried, and my wife said, no, we're not calling her that.
Abigail
Yeah.
Liberty Hall, fine.
I would settle
Karen?
for Abigail Liberty Hall for sure.
Karen, it's on the news. It's Abigail Liberty Hall. It's too far gone to turn back. Thank you.
The thing I would want to add
Yeah.
to
Please.
cap off my thoughts is, other than just saying thank you to you both for having us in this home and give us a chance to just talk about what we love to do every day, but kind of a message to the industry is like we need to remember the customers are the thing that matters the most.
Yep.
You meet a lot of people in craft beer that get pretty jaded about it. We have to remember that the customers are why we're here. That's the only thing that actually matters at the end of the day, is that people want to spend their hard-earned money at your business, and you have to be grateful for those people every single day.
Don't take it for granted.
Absolutely not.
I mean,
Mhm.
they choose
You know,
to do that.
coming from
They
the
can choose
guy
not
that's
to.
pretty much behind the scenes, that's huge. That is huge, David. And so
David has
Thank
a,
you for,
a very good verse on what this industry is.
yeah,
I think he has a good viewpoint
Yeah.
of it.
we're glad
Through
to
the
have you
window.
here in town. So thanks.
Thank you, Mike. It's we've met so many good people since I've moved here. It's been crazy. Just how welcomed I feel by just our customers and the industry and just people I meet throughout town. It's undoubtedly the right decision for my family to come here. We're so grateful and blessed, and I'm so grateful for our customers who spend our money on the thing that I get to do every day for a living. The greatest job of all. It's just
Yeah.
make beer for folks. And I love my wife, Karen.
Thank you, Karen, for letting David be here
We'll send him home soon.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Haley.
It's been a great time. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. You guys have been like
An unfortunate guest.
well, no. I was going to say, are you the newest brewery
We are not. Gem State would be that.
in Garden?
In Eagle.
In Eagle, yeah.
So Gem State opened up.
Right. That's
About a
Eagle.
month and a half after us. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We would be newest brewery in Garden City
Sure.
for a very short time, I'm
Right.
sure.
Short
I
time.
hope there are many more.
Yeah. Yep.
There's so many good breweries. Go
Yeah.
try them all. Yes.
Hours and location.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Sydney?
Monday,
no.
Monday through Thursday, it is 2
Tuesday
p.m.
through Thursday.
Tuesday.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Monday, if you show up, you can have a good conversation with us, though.
Sure.
Sure.
We are
Tuesday
always
through
around.
Thursday, it is 2 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Not 8.
And then
Unless Bert's
Friday, Saturday, we are noon
to
to
10.
10 p.m. And then Sundays, we are noon to 9 p.m.
Yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And if you like the tasting room, please blow up my wife's Instagram. It's, I want to say Sid Baby.
I don't know.
I think that's her
I don't
Instagram.
have
Okay.
Instagram.
I honestly have no idea.
We'll check
I
it
don't
out.
have Instagram, but if you hit up the Bert's Brewing Instagram,
She does a
that
great
is
job with
hers
Okay.
as well. I do not have social media, so any messages that you send, they go to her. Please be responsible.
Right.
All
Right.
right.
So with us, any questions, comments, concerns, you can email us at emptycans2022@gmail.com.
I think we need to send that email over the fence.
Right. And it is going to change shortly. So stay tuned for that, as well as our Instagram page. That will change as well. So everybody be on the lookout.
I'm sure all 7 listeners will be.
All the 7 Michiganites. Is that
Even
what
if
you
there
call
was-
yourself?
Even if
No.
there was 2 at the table, this would be the most well worth it thing we've
Dude,
done.
they're called Michiganders. Don't
Michiganders?
Michiganders.
Whoa.
Don't offend them.
Even the
Jeez, oh,
upenders
geez.
or whatever you call them? Upper Peninsula
Oh no,
people?
those are
Those
you-
guys are like
Those are Canadians.
They're
Yeah,
Upers.
they're different.
Upers.
And we're trolls because we're below
Right.
the bridge.
You don't.
Awesome.
You're
Well,
not
I'm
as
not.
good. Anyway.
I'm an Idahoan.
Right.
I tried telling that to an Uber driver the other night, and he laughed at me.
All right.
That was lame.
Yeah, that
All
sucks.
right.
There we go.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. And stay tuned for the next one. Who knows what's going to happen?
All right.
Frog's ass. I don't know.
That never even came up today.
It's a good time, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thanks
much.
for
Did that go
joining
okay
us.
for you guys?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, we're deleting it.
No. That was
Yeah,
good stuff.
thanks for having us.
He's got a lot of material to work with. And